the overriding principle of metropolitan open land, which has been said so many times, is, if only they could have demonstrated some better justification for what they were doing, they might have had more success. But on all those levels, I think it fails desperately. And thanks to the officers, it's a massive amount of work for everybody involved, from officers and everybody, to try to get to a state of such a complex development. And there's a lot of positives in there. Of course, everybody welcomes the sorting out of the lake. Of course, everybody welcomes the open access to land that the public haven't had access to generally before. There's a lot of positive things in this application that I really welcome. But unfortunately, I don't think it passes that crucial test of very special circumstances. And if the details were better, there's the basis of something in there. Maybe capability could have done a better job on that, perhaps. It's disappointing, as I say, and I would have liked to hope that in the future All England can come back with something which is more moderate and acceptable to residents, and still give them their ambitions that they seek for with the club, and which we all share, their ambitions for the club to be successful. So I'm afraid on this one I'm going to have to support the officer's recommendation and vote against the application.
Councillor Humphreys, that's exactly what I was just inviting you to do. So, does anyone else want to make a statement? Councillor Coakley.
I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Humphreys and the officers. I'm not completely against the idea of ever developing on metropolitan open land or the green belt, but it's got to be a real benefit. It's got to be potentially life-changing. And while there are some very good points, like the application isn't completely terrible in every way, there's biodiversity benefits, there's economic benefits, there's a lot of tree planting which I would normally jump at in an application, but when it's still weighed up against the damage it's going to be doing to metropolitan open land, I still don't think it's enough. It's not life-changing, and so I'm not inclined to support it either.
Right, let's move a second with Councillor Kelvin-India.
Chair, I think one of the things that I've learned in my years in planning is that whatever the demerits of an application might be, there is often a plan in there somewhere. And I think this is another one of those applications where there is a plan in there somewhere, this is not it. And I think what is not it in is two things that come out for me the most, which is the balance between the national and international reputation of the tennis centre versus the interests of the local community. And it does seem the applicant has taken their eye off the ball as far as the local communities are concerned, who will have, as they perceive it, disbenefits from it, and not enough of the benefits from it. And I think we must accept that Wimbledon has a reputation which it wants to maintain, and it's in our interest that it maintains it. And of course it needs to expand to keep up with others, but I think it has to do it in a way that is complementary to the landscape it has. Tennis in an English country garden is its sort of winning formula, and this is going a little bit further away from tennis in an English garden. And in the most damaging aspect of this, and I said earlier, is that 8,000-seater show court on MOL. And it's just the question of how they need to reshape these things and reorient some of the things. And in doing so, they need to be more open in their engagement with the local community, not just the immediate local community, but a wider local community, about both what they want, what they need, why they need it, and how everyone could be part of the story rather than be done unto. So with a heavy heart, I have to say that much as I would like this investment in the area to happen, this is not the way to make it happen. And the way in which they have gone about it perhaps could be improved. And maybe that's where they need to focus their minds. So I support the recommendations, but I think this is not going to go away very far, as I'm sure we all suspect. And so the next time this finds its utterance in this chamber, I hope it'll be a more supportive, it'll have a more supportive neighbourhood behind it.
Thank you. Personally, I think that lots of people are arguing that, of course, Wimbledon's safe because it's the peak of the grass court season, and Wimbledon's there because of the grass court season. I think that's wrong. I think grass is there because of Wimbledon. I think it ought to invert that. It's only because of Wimbledon that grass exists. Grass, when I was a youngster, was what was played on in Australian Open and in the US Open. Both of those went from grass because they found it, in the words of one player, grass was for cows and not for playing tennis. Now that may be going a bit far, but it's obviously difficult. It's difficult to maintain, it's costly, it doesn't last terribly long, all sorts of reasons. So I don't think Wimbledon's in such a strong position as people assume. I think they've done the AELTC, if I'm right, a little bit of good to actually kind of admit that to themselves, which I doubt, and spent a bit more effort and time, I'm agreeing here with Councillor Humphreys completely, in justifying the very special circumstances and making sure that the public locally was on board on the consultation. So whatever our clash of words, I think we're largely in agreement on this. So unless anyone's going to say otherwise, I'm going to assume that the officer's recommendation is accepted, and I'm being told I can't for some reason or other.
Chairman, no, you're very entitled to put the matter to the vote. It's just that I need to raise an issue about a member leaving the room during the debate. It seems awfully harsh that during a long debate, any absence would disbar that member from being able to vote on the application. But there are provisions within the Constitution, I think relating principally to when we had virtual meetings, that if a connection was lost, then if a member wasn't able to hear the entire debate on the matter, they wouldn't be entitled to vote. And the same thing should apply to physical meetings. So I'm afraid that the councillor that left the room, albeit only for a few minutes, I don't think should be entitled to vote on the application.
Now, I've heard that said before, and I'd like to challenge that. I'll tell you why I'd like to challenge that. No one I've ever heard of has ever said that MPs have to be in their sort of totality of a debate before they're allowed to vote. I thought they were always in the bar and being called in by the division bells and goodness knows what. So I would like to challenge that for the good of this council, because I've heard it said before, and I've been a councillor long enough, as everyone here will know, indeed with Councillor Vindia on one occasion, to have been across the road at a nearby hostelry and come back for a vote. So we have done it in the past, and the two of us together, so he can't deny it. I don't think he wants to deny it. So I would like that in writing and actually backed up. But in fact, I don't want to make a point of it now because I don't think it's going to make any difference to the vote right now. So you obviously know who it was. I was just so with the exception of that person, sorry about that. Can we take a vote on accepting the recommendation as it stands? Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7. Okay, and those against? None. And I'm keeping my powder dry. Pretty obvious from my last statement what it was, though, wasn't it? Okay, thank you very much. I don't. The members of the public gallery are sitting there very quietly, for which thank you very much. But as far as you're concerned, I think the evening's over. We've rejected the application. We all say it's going to go on to other places, so don't make assumptions. And meanwhile, I need a very short break. So whilst the public gallery goes and so on and so forth,